You and I both know we live in a world where people tell lies, big ones, small ones, white lies, whoppers, you name it. And let me tell you, it's a real problem. People lie for all sorts of reasons, but it all boils down to one thing: they're not being truthful. And that lack of honesty can really mess things up. It can damage relationships, ruin careers, and even land people in hot water with the law. We're going to dive deep into the minds of liars, understand why they do what they do, and most importantly, how you can spot them. Let's face it, folks, nobody likes getting in trouble. And sometimes a little white lie seems like the easiest way out. You know, like when your partner asks if these pants make them look fat, you say, "No way, honey, you look great." But here's the thing, even small lies can snowball into bigger problems. When we lie to avoid consequences, we're essentially teaching ourselves that honesty isn't the best policy. And that can have some serious consequences down the road. Look, everybody wants to look good in front of others. We want people to like us, respect us, and maybe even envy us a little. But some people take it too far. They exaggerate their accomplishments, invent stories about their past, and basically create a whole fantasy world where they're the star. They're so busy trying to impress everyone else that they lose sight of who they really are. And that's a recipe for disaster. We all have a deep-seated need to belong, to be part of a group. And sometimes that means going along with the crowd, even if it means compromising our own values. Think about peer pressure. A teenager might know that smoking is wrong, but if all their friends are doing it, they might feel pressured to light up too. The same goes for lying. If everyone else is bending the truth, it can be tempting to do the same, even if it goes against our better judgment. Now this one's a biggie. We live in a world where money talks, and some people are willing to do whatever it takes to get their hands on it. We're talking about con artists, scammers, and fraudsters, people who build their entire lives on lies. They prey on the vulnerable, exploiting their trust for their own personal gain. These folks are masters of manipulation, and they can be very convincing. That's why it's so important to be aware of the tactics they use and to protect yourself from their schemes. Now, sometimes people lie with the best of intentions. They might lie to protect someone's feelings or to avoid a conflict. For example, you might tell a friend their new haircut looks great, even if you secretly think it's a disaster. These little white lies are often seen as harmless, and in some cases they might even be the compassionate thing to do. But it's important to remember that even well-intentioned lies can have unintended consequences. One of the biggest giveaways that someone might be lying is if their story doesn't add up. You ask them about what they did last night, and they give you one version of events. But then, later on, you hear them telling someone else a completely different story. Or maybe their story is full of holes and inconsistencies. They can't seem to keep their facts straight. These are major red flags, folks. When someone's story keeps changing, it's a sign that they're not being truthful. You know what they say. Actions speak louder than words, and that's especially true when it comes to detecting deception. Liars often betray themselves through their body language. They might fidget, avoid eye contact, or touch their face more often. They might also exhibit physiological signs of stress, like sweating, a racing heart, or a dry mouth. Now, it's important to note that these signs alone don't necessarily mean someone is lying. But when you see a cluster of these behaviors, it's definitely a cause for concern. The way someone speaks can also provide clues about their truthfulness. Liars often use more filler words like and as they try to buy time to come up with a believable story. They might also speak more quickly than usual or in a higher pitch. Another telltale sign is when someone pauses for an unusually long time before answering a question. This could be a sign that they're carefully crafting their response. Now, you'd think that a liar would want to keep their story as short and simple as possible, right? But sometimes it's the opposite. They might go overboard with details, adding in unnecessary information in an attempt to make their story sound more convincing. But here's the thing, the more elaborate the lie, the harder it is to keep track of all the details. And that's when the cracks start to show. When you confront someone with evidence that contradicts their story, how do they react? If they're being truthful, they'll likely be willing to discuss the discrepancy calmly and rationally. But if they're lying, they might become defensive or even aggressive. They might try to deflect blame, change the subject, or attack your credibility. These are all classic signs of someone who's trying to protect a lie. You know, prevention is always the best medicine. And when it comes to lying, The best way to prevent it is to create an environment where honesty is valued and rewarded. That means building strong, trusting relationships with the people in your life. When people feel safe and supported, they're less likely to feel the need to lie. It's important to be upfront about your expectations regarding honesty. Let people know that you value truthfulness and that you won't tolerate lying. This is especially important in professional settings where honesty and integrity are paramount. By setting clear expectations, you're creating a culture of accountability. In today's world, we're bombarded with information from all sides. It's more important than ever to be critical thinkers and to question what we hear. Don't just blindly accept everything you're told. Take the time to verify information, especially if it comes from an unreliable source. A little bit of skepticism can go a long way in protecting yourself from deception. Sometimes people lie because they're afraid of the consequences of telling the truth. They might be worried about getting in trouble, disappointing others, or damaging their reputation. It's important to create an environment where people feel safe coming forward with the truth, even if it's difficult. Let them know that you're there to listen without judgment and that you'll support them through the process. The more you know about lying, the better equipped you'll be to spot it. There are countless books, articles, and even workshops dedicated to the art of deception detection. Learn about the psychology of lying, the different types of lies, and the telltale signs that someone might be trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Knowledge is power, folks. If you suspect someone is lying to you, it's important to address the issue directly. Don't let it fester and grow into a bigger problem. Choose a time and place where you can speak privately and calmly. Be direct and assertive, but avoid being accusatory. Present the evidence you have and give the person a chance to explain themselves. Dealing with a liar can be emotionally draining. It's important to set boundaries to protect yourself from further manipulation and deceit. Let the person know that you won't tolerate lying and that there will be consequences for their actions. This might mean limiting contact, ending the relationship, or taking legal action if necessary. Sometimes understanding why someone is lying can be helpful in addressing the root cause of the problem. Are they lying out of fear, insecurity, a desire for control? Once you understand the underlying motives, you can start to address them in a constructive way. If you've tried everything and the person continues to lie, it might be time to cut your losses. You can't force someone to be truthful if they're not willing to do the work. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is to distance yourself from the situation. In some cases, professional help might be necessary to address the issue of lying. A therapist or counselor can provide a safe and confidential space for individuals to explore the underlying reasons for their behavior and to develop healthier coping mechanisms. Look, dealing with liars is no walk in the park. It can be frustrating, hurtful, and downright exhausting, but remember, you don't have to put up with it. By understanding the psychology of lying, recognizing the signs, and taking steps to protect yourself, you can navigate this treacherous terrain with confidence. Remember, honesty is the foundation of any healthy relationship, so be true to yourself, demand the same from others, and don't let the liars bring you down.